Hey guys, welcome back to Community Starcraft 2. As advertised, this is the Zerg versus Terran scouting guide that I've put together, and this is going to be a game between La'on Xena Moon. I don't know if that's the regular moon that used to be from We Made Fox, or if it's some other guy, but pretty sure that's the moon I'm thinking of. And in this game he's fighting Maka Prime, who is a very good Terran player, who most notably in the GSL recently was taunting Show, and he lost because of it, so yeah, interesting guy. So considering this is actually a scouting guide, I'm just going to keep you in the dark as far as what the Terran player is doing. We're just going to look at the Zerg, and this game in particular is one I've seen before, but I really want to show you guys very smart stuff that Moon is doing in this game. And then we'll get to a couple of different games just to show you guys different possibilities as far as Terran openers and what you can expect in the early game and what you should be scouting for in particular. So what Moon is going to do, obviously, since I forgot to mention it, I know I've probably said this a few times, but with your first overlord, send it over to one of your nearby bases. So if you know exactly where they spawn, if it's on a 2-player map, send it there, send it somewhere near the outskirts of the base. This is a 4-player map, and you need to know the maps. You can spawn in the top right, top left, bottom right. So this is pretty self-explanatory, but just send your first overlord out in a direction of one of the bases. So you might actually just scout with this first overlord, or you want to send out a drone if your overlord has not arrived there yet, or you're not quite sure where they are. So hopefully you can get in their base, see if they're doing anything like a 2-barracks attack, and just kind of get out on the map and see what's going on. So this drone is going to head down to this corner, and this overlord is going to head over to here. Your second overlord needs to be sitting here at your natural, so that you can look out for any sort of bunker rushes or any sort of cheese like that. So send your first overlord out to scout someone's base. Your second overlord, sit it over top of your natural expansion so you can spot for things, because I'll show you when the hatchery comes down. The hatchery just can't see anything, and you just might lose because you don't have information around your base. So fast forward a little bit. Here comes this drone. It's going to come and scout up here. Sees nothing. And he didn't go all the way in. The Terran player could conceivably have a base here and like some barracks back there, but typically Terrans are going to wall off the top of their ramp. It's really rare to see anything else because it's so risky. So yeah, this is why he doesn't actually get into this base all the way, and how he doesn't know that his opponent is here. So he sees no wall, which is usually a barracks, and 2 supply depots here. Typically won't be done by now, as you can check your supply. In this particular game, Moon is going hatch first, which you can get away with Terrans almost every game. You just need to know how to follow that up. So yeah, jumping back into the game. Talking in a little bit of Korean here. Of course, both these guys are Korean, and Koreans do have the best players, I would say, overall. So here we go. He knows exactly where the Terran player is. He sees a barracks at the high ground, supply depot. So this overlord isn't going to do much right now, so he's just going to turn it to the side, and he's going to sit one of his overlords outside of Maka's base. So you're going to sit one like here or whatever, just somewhere that they can't run Marines along and kill your overlord. This overlord is actually going to die later on. So typically your first overlord you put out is immediately sentenced to death. So poor guy, but his job is to return information for you, and we'll show that when that comes up, assuming it does come up in this game. So back to my point about spotting with your second overlord. This hatchery right here, you can see this is its vision range, just that little tiny bit. It's like one space. That's the furthest it can see. So if a Terran player was actually setting up a bunker right here, or if he was setting up a bunker here and you didn't have any spotting, he could have a ton of Marines in there, and then by the time your hatchery finished, you could already be getting shot by Marines, and that sucks to get to that point. So what he's going to do, you can also send this drone out if it gets to the Terran base and gets pushed away. You can have it hold a watchtower, and if you see Marines running across and an SCV running across, then you'll know that a bunker rush is incoming, and you can handle that pretty much the best way you know how, which is pulling about 5 to 6 drones and just fighting with them the best you possibly can, while getting your zerglings out as soon as possible. So the other thing is that when you finish your hatchery, just go ahead and transfer about 4 or 5 drones out there. That way, if there is a bunker starting to get set up, you can just pull them from right here, and they don't have to walk quite as far. So here's the overlord getting in position of where it needs to be at the Terran base. And again, if you can sit over dead space like this where Marines can't shoot it, that's perfect, but you don't want to always alert the Terran player where your overlord is. So if you set it like right here, this would be far enough in where if they ran Marines down, it could get away, and far enough away from the Terran base that he's not going to know exactly where that overlord is and just plan for it and kill it. Queen's going to come out here, poop out creep, standard stuff. You want to scout in the Terran base, considering most of their tech timings will be, at least their next stage of tech will be at about 5:30 to 7 minutes. It totally depends on when you're comfortable. Just basically, if you don't have any idea what the Terran player is doing, just send that in and see what's going on. One thing I really want to note in this game, though, is that now Moon sees Hellions that are coming out. He has everything positioned perfectly. Like, this is exactly why I wanted to show this game. So if you do see Hellions, you definitely don't want to let them get on your drone lines. And this isn't really scouting information, but it's kind of just preparation into scouting information that you might not have. So Hellions are going to come up here. Beautiful block with these Zerglings. The spine crawlers are going to waste those Hellions, so that Hellion attack is going to do absolutely no damage. But what Moon is going to start doing is he's going to start doing something that Protoss players kind of do against Zerg. And that is they will use a building here, they'll use a spine crawler here and one here, and kind of sit a queen back and forth between their main hatchery and their wall that they're setting up. You can see Moon doing that now, and that's exactly why I wanted to show this replay, because this is so good. This is probably some of the best I've ever seen. And now you see the evolution chamber coming down. So this wall is basically Hellion proof. Hellions will do almost no damage to this if they're coming through the ground. So your next step is to basically set overlords on the edges of your bases so you can spot any drops that might be coming in. So you kind of don't really have scouting information this early on most of the time. So you just kind of have to protect against everything. So the evolution chamber is part of that protection as well. In case they bring banshees, you can just drop down a spore crawler here in your mineral lines. And you can just drop them right in the middle. It will disrupt mining just a tiny bit, but that'll offer the most protection around your whole hatchery and drone line and whatever. So the evolution chambers are there for a reason. So drop your evolution chamber again about 6.5 minutes. The fastest they're going to have a banshee on the field is about 7 minutes, maybe just slightly before. Depends on how aggressive they're being. But you can hold that off with spore crawlers and queens. So just make maybe 1 or 2 extra queens. Get your evolution chamber down. Make a wall off here at your front door. Spread your overlords, and you'll be protected from almost everything Terran player can throw at you. So we'll continue on with this. I want this overlord to fly in about right now, and wow, look, there he goes. So he's going to fly in here and see what buildings are up. So this is another one of those instances in which you want to see, okay, never mind, I guess he's not. I guess he's a little more worried about these Hellions at the front door. But these Hellions aren't going to do anything at all unless they're dropped into the main. And he has spotting right here as far as overlords to see if a dropship is coming or whatever. So I really want him to send this overlord in and see what's going on, but we're going to cheat for just a second here. This is something I like to do in all my guides. And that is, if you want to know scouting information versus a Terran, you want to also know what's possible out of them. So you need to get in your building structure here, and you need to see what buildings that they can make and what can come out of those buildings. Terran's the easiest to know because they're the campaign race. But let's say, for example, if you see a barracks, you know Marines can come out of there. You need to know what add-ons are going to affect those. And you need to know basically what your scouting information is going to mean. So for example, if you see them running like 4 or 5 barracks, that's usually just going to mean tons of Marines, and you need to figure out a way to counter that, which is usually banelings or roaches. If they're running like 3 or 4 factories, it's going to be a ton of Hellions and tanks. So you need to know how to counteract that, which is mutalisks. And eventually you'll get to a point where you understand their unit composition, so the scouting information that you get is actually meaningful instead of, okay, this is what they're doing, but I don't really know how to react to that. So just kind of put 2 and 2 together in terms of this is what they have and this is what I can do against it, but this is going to show you how you should be scouting and poking around for that information. So by this point in the game, he could see many different things. He sees 2 barracks, there may even be a 3rd finished up here, but he sees a lot of Marines, so this could just be a Marine Hellion timing. He's going to want to have to put out units to respect that, and as Zerg, you have that luxury of being able to pool larvae, and if you see a threat and you have a lot of larvae pooled, you can just dump out some units to deal with that really fast. So if you're seeing nothing but Marine Hellion, which is what he showed so far, you could just go roaches, and you should be able to push that off pretty easily, or you could go for a lot of Zerglings. Speed Zerglings do really well. And if you're opening up with a spawning pool at any time, your first 100 gas really should be spent on that Zergling speed. So your units have a lot of utility. You just need to know how to apply them. So we're going to continue on to this game a little more. I will fast forward to +4. Now he has his zerglings coming out here, seeing what's going on, and your zerglings are cheap. These are really disposable, so you want to run up to the front door and look how much information he got just from doing that. Since he basically saw that, I'm going to show you what he saw. He saw 2 tanks, a couple marauders, or rather, it looks like just 1 marauder, some marines, and a hellion. So this is a really diverse army. This is kind of rolling into the next stage of what could be going on. And if you got another zergling in here even further, he'd be able to see that the command center is down. It's actually mining, so it's been here for probably about 30 seconds or so. But if you can see their unit composition and you know exactly what you need to do to counter it, that's the point of scouting. So just run one of these cheap little zerglings in there, make them die, but their dying has a point, and the point is giving you information. So use your zerglings very religiously as far as getting in there and seeing what the opponent is doing. Again, a couple hellions out here, just being annoying. He's actually trying to deny creep spread, so Moon's being very patient. You can see the Terran players trying to send out Marines to deal with these Zerglings. And hold watchtowers with your Zerglings. I mean, they're so disposable that holding watchtowers is information. And as Zerg, with your creep spread, with your ability to defend a lot of different things with really cheap buildings and units and stuff, map control is kind of assumed in the beginning part of the game, so you need to exercise that. Get out and hold watchtowers, set some units in front of their base, run Zerglings around, and have them sit at bases to block expansions that might be coming down, just so that you have as much information as possible. So Zerg's scouting tools aren't the greatest, but their ability to react to what they might scout or what they can assume is probably the best in the game. So be prepared for that kind of stuff. You can see Moon's coming out here to kill these Hellions, just so he can keep his creep spreading. And creep spreading, of course, is a huge part of scouting. It's mostly just to know where their army is, but look how much vision Moon has right now. This is only on his vision. He sees this whole pocket of the map, all of his bases defended. He can see all the middle of the map, so nothing could come across on the ground from this Terran player because he's going to know about it. So, yeah, we'll just continue to watch this, see where it goes. Let me fast forward this a little bit. So Moon has a decent amount of Zerglings out right now, and now he sees the push, so again the Zerglings are a little bit disposable, but if they're in this large of a flock, you don't just want to attack move them anywhere. He knows that Maka's forces are right here, so he needs to find a way to respond to that. I'm pretty sure does have a Spire. Yes, it's about done. So the way that you typically want to engage, I'm sure you'll see this in many games, is just try to remove the Marines so that your Mutalisk can clean up everything else. Banelings are coming out here. We're just going to watch a little bit of this battle. There's not really too much more to know in terms of this. So this may be a little bit of a short guide. I will go through one more replay just to kind of drill home the points a little more. But you can see Moon cleaning this up okay. The Mutalisks have free range. There's no Marines on the field anymore. So easily clean up these tanks. Maka should have actually unsieged them and started walking them home. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward as far as what you might see. So typically off of one base, Terrans are either going to send out a ton of Marines, they're going to send out Hellions. Siege mode won't be ready for quite a bit, and siege mode for Terrans versus Zerg is basically necessary. You can't do much without it. Or you may see Banshees. You're not going to see very much outside of that. So on one base, you need to know what's possible and you need to know how to react. So if you see a lot of Marines, you should probably go for either Banelings, a lot of Zerglings, speed Zerglings that is, or Roaches to fend that off. Same thing with Hellions. Hellions more specific. You need Hellions more specifically. You need stuff here at your front door so that you're funneling the Hellions through these tiny little holes, or just pushing them off altogether. Because your queens can come up here and park themselves and block off these entrances if you really need to. So that's how you defend against Hellions. Defending against Banshees. Essentially, you just drop down your evolution chamber, make a couple of spore crawlers here. If you scout Banshees at all, some people just do it blindly, and that's, I mean, it's okay. They have utility throughout the rest of the game as well, so it's not a huge deal if you do something like that. So I think we're going to end this replay. We'll jump into another and check out their scouting intel and see if there's anything different. But I do at least want to get 2 out there so that we have a good baseline for what's going on. So I will be right back with that next game. Okay, we are back here for the next game, and this particular game is going to be between Dongrigu, who is a fabulous Zerg player over in Korea, and he's fighting Nada, as we can see here from the nice little name screens. We're going to go through Dongregu's point of view once again and see what he sees out of Nada, and I thought this would especially be good because Nada likes to throw his opponents really, really strange scouting reads and get them kind of on the back foot for the next stage of the game. So see how Dongregu reacts to that kind of stuff. Again, Dongregu is sending out his first overlord. On this map it is 2 players, so he knows exactly where to send it, and you'll want to see your overlord somewhere outside their base, like right here or right here, so you can float it in later to see what's going on and get valuable scouting information. So again, that first overlord is sentenced to death, but his death is for a reasonable price, so he will be returning valuable scouting information. Second overlord is going to be parked over his natural so he can see any bunkering that might be going on. So this is very standard scouting information that you should do in every single game as Zerg, even if you're fighting another Zerg. So that's just basically assumed, but I mean, sometimes the reason people watch this is because they don't know. So what he's actually doing with this overlord right now is he's just spotting the common travel path for Nada's units. So he did see an SCV coming down. This SCV is likely to scout, but if Nada was going for something like 2 barracks, he would have to pull drones and deal with that kind of stuff, but he's not seeing any extra Marines, at least coming through right here. There's 1 Marine out. That Marine's running away, meaning that it was not meant to be a real pressure play. So yeah, I mean, you just want to be smart with your overlord scouting. Don't let them die for nothing. If you can, just sit them next to their base. You can fly them in a little later. And then once your Zerglings come out, you'll be able to hold watchtowers. You'll be able to sit in front of their base. You know exactly what's going on. And you can see Nada actually has a command center started. He did have some Marines. So Dongregu should be really safe from pressure for quite a while, in terms of he won't need to freak out. He'll be able to make drones for a while. And that's something I didn't really mention, but your larvae right here need to be spent as efficiently as possible. If you can spend them on drones, spend them on drones. If you can spend them on units, that's fine, but you want to be spending them on drones as much as possible in the early game, just so that you can have a strong economy for later in the game. So Dongregu is going to be coming in here, going to bug just a little bit of Nada stuff, but he's not going to lose too much. He's still kind of gathering scouting information. He only sees Marines, and this is a small squad of Marines. More importantly, he sees no factory units, but he still wants to get in there with his overlord and see what's happening. So Nada's denying scouting pretty well. Again, if you're Dongregu, you want to be planning for Hellions. You want to be planning for Banshees. So in the next minute or so, get like 1 spine crawler. Start to build like a little sort of a blockade so Hellions can't just run wild in your base. Start to get your evolution chambers up, and so you can be ready for Banshees in case they show up. So you don't really know what Nada's doing behind this, but that fast command center is going to say, usually, that he doesn't need to overreact too much. So here's another small squad of Marines coming down here from Nada. Dongregu needs to make sure he has the right unit counts, which he actually doesn't right now. He's getting a little too greedy. He probably has some Zerglings in production right now, which if we look at the production tab, 14 Zerglings are on the way. And again, I want to keep that out of view so you guys don't cheat and see what the Terran's doing the easy way. So Dongregu is just going to try to clean this up the best he can. He should be totally fine. So Nada just lost a whole bunch of stuff. And he did not see any factory units once again. So he wants to get up there and see what's happening. See if there's any tanks out. See if there's any Hellions out. No, just more Marines. So Dongregu is going to run up here, and he can actually do quite a bit of damage. Look at what kind of scouting information he's getting here now from these disposable Zerglings. He sees now 4 barracks. This is going to be a lot of barracks coming out. There's likely not going to be many factories behind this, so Nada's going to want to go for a really heavy Marine play. And if you see Terrans committing this hard to barracks, you need to get your Baneling's Nest down as soon as possible, or you need to get a Roach Warren out as soon as possible. We can see a Baneling's Nest coming down here now for Dongregu. So again, just be aggressive with your Zerglings, or sit in Overlord somewhere that's going to gather information so that you can get in there and see what they're doing. You don't want to let them get this command center and then get all the gas they want and walk in there with tanks and blow your face off. You want to be prepared for that kind of stuff. So Dongregu's creep spread is amazing. Look how far out it's going already. More Zerglings coming up here, poking around, seeing what's going on. Just more Marines, that's all he sees. If he had an Overlord that was able to come in here in the back during when he was, being annoying with the Zerglings up front, he would get all the scouting information he hasn't seen in the rest of the base here. So that's the only real part of Dongregu's opener that hasn't been totally perfect. But Dongregu may actually just go for a bust here. A lot of Banelings could just be going in there to blow up Nada. So he's responding directly to what Nada is able to do. If Nada gets too careless and runs out here with all his Marines, those Marines might not have stim by now. They might not have combat shields by now, considering he didn't see any add-ons on these barracks. He might have them back here, but I'm not sure if they would have shown. It's pretty close. So Dongregu is just straight up countering what Nada's trying to do and being aggressive about it as well. So tons more Zerglings coming up here. A lot of banelings sitting up front, and look at this huge creep spread. This is amazing. If you guys can get away with this kind of creep spread as Zerg, you need to do it, because Dongragu has this entire side of the map basically covered in creep. So if any sort of attacks were to come up, Dongragu would know all about it before it got there. So we're just going to watch the rest of this game, because it might be fun to just watch Nada get blown up by banelings. That's a ton of banelings. Come the banelings, a lot of SCVs. Oh, wow. Okay, we might need to go back and watch that again. I mean, I know this is just for scouting, but this is fun to watch. Nada plugging this hole pretty well. A lot of SCVs coming here to repair. Banelings do get a couple of detonations. Whatever. So yeah, Dongragu just being aggressive. Now he knows factory units are on the way. He knows tanks are out. He knows they probably don't have siege mode, otherwise they would be sieged. So he knows what kind of tempo Nada is on. He's done a lot of damage here, so I think that's good for this scouting guide so far. I mean, the only thing is you guys haven't really seen are Banshees, but if you have enough Queens out, and if you have the ability to drop Spore Crawlers here, or if you have your lair up so you can put out Overseers, then that's all perfect. Something we didn't really cover too much in this tutorial is Overseers. Once you have your lair done, you can turn your Overlord into an Overseer. They fly a lot faster than Overlords, and you can drop off Changelings, which make them look like the enemy's units. So they have to manually kill that, and sometimes they might not notice. So you can have like one of your little Changelings running around, which will look like a Marine, both to you and to them, and run around their base and see what's going on. So there's a lot of other utility you can get that we didn't cover in this guide particularly, but it's pretty straightforward. You need to know what they're capable of on one base. One base plays are typically just going to be Hellions, a lot of Marines. You won't see tanks out very soon because siege mode takes a long time to research, or just very aggressive Banshee play. Occasionally you'll see Reapers, but you can deal with that with speed Zerglings just fine. So just be wary of what can come out. Be wary of where to place your buildings. Be on top of your creep spreading. Put your overlords in good spots. This should all cover all of your bases. And I want to watch all those SCVs dying again, because that's pretty funny stuff. See if we can get back to the right place. Nope, too far in. Alright, here we go. Slow this down onto a normal speed for you guys. And again, I'm not a Zerg player, so I want to feel like I'm treating Zerg players the way they feel like they should be treated. I'm going to go ahead and watch these banelings just dominate these SCVs here in a second. Yeah, oh, tons of SCVs dying there. So this in particular, I know it's not any part of oh, my thing is really freaking out here. We're currently on Dongragu's vision. Let me get off of it really quick. So basically, I'm pretty sure what this is from was the Korean Invitational, the MLG. So you guys may have already seen this game, but yeah. So it's basically the scouting. This is what actually is going on in the Terran base. But now I hope you guys have a better idea of what you should be looking for out in your Zerg versus Terran games. If you have any questions, post them down below and I will answer them. I do try to stay on top of all the comments that I get and make sure I answer any questions anybody might have. But I hope this gives you a better insight as far as how to play and scout this matchup in particular. Thanks for watching. I'll be back for more videos. Take it easy.